So let's talk about delays. As I have kind of changed my recording workflows here in the studio over the years, longtime subscribers might have noticed that there's been a pretty precipitous shift from everything stereo all the time to mono as often as humanly possible, stereo when necessary. And there's a couple things that have driven that. One of the main ones is my kind of move to recording live guitar amps here in the studio. And another one is actually delay pedals. Stereo delays have their place and they can be incredibly fun, and that big wide stereo image is quite beautiful in isolation. But in a kind of more busy or cluttered mix where you need a driving guitar, mono delay tends to reign supreme. And even more than that, if you're using your delay as a essential rhythmic component of your sound, something like that classic dotted eighth rhythm delay kind of thing, you don't actually want ping-ponging or super wide stereo images on your delay, because you want that kind of delay repeat, that dotted eighth, to really bolster your kind of center channel guitar energy. And so for that reason, I've been using a lot of mono delays, whether they be stereo delays that I'm running in mono or just mono delays straight up in my rigs over the last year or so. And so today I want to take a look at my 3 favorite delays of all time right now. And I put that caveat because 2 of these are pedals I have had for a long time, have made appearances as deep dives on the channel already, and are pieces of gear that I just want to get a fresh set of eyes on. And the third one is one that has become a kind of daily driver here in the studio that I have not done a focused piece on. So let's start off with our first delay. And this is not only a special one because it is one of the first 3 demo videos I ever did on this channel, as well as being my favorite delay pedal of all time, no caveats, full stop. This is the Chase Bliss Thermae, and this is a fully analog delay with quantized pitch shifting, beautiful semi-random modulation, and the best sounding low pass filter on a wet channel of any analog delay I have ever owned or ever tried. This is, for my money, the gold standard of analog delays by which I judge everything else that arrives here. It has been a favorite of mine for years now, hinging on close to a decade, I believe, and is one of the first demos we ever did on this channel. I will link to it down below. It's back when my videos used to be like 10 to 12 minutes. And so we're not going to do the exhaustive thing, but I want to highlight why I love this thing. So we're going to take a look at a few things. We're going to look at its value as a standard analog delay, the ability to use that kind of resonant peak on that low pass filter to push a semi-synthy low pass filter's delay shape to the forefront of a mix for things like dotted eighth rhythm delays. I also want to take a look at it as one of my favorite real-time modulators of all time. If you take the time to minimum, the mix to either fully wet for vibrato or mostly wet for chorusing, as you roll that low pass filter down, you get one of the best lo-fi modulation pedals I've ever owned. This thing holds its own with the shallow water and everything else in terms of beautiful lo-fi warbling modulation. And then lastly, we will kind of go into slow mode, where you hold both foot switches down until the tap tempo turns from red to green, which halves the amount of time it takes to step between the pitch shifted intervals. And then we'll just kind of let this thing kind of speak for itself as a really, truly beautiful pitch shifting analog delay. This is my favorite forever for a reason. Next up, I want to talk about the Keeley Halo Core, a delay pedal that is relatively new to me, that I got in a trade after being badgered to get one from a friend of mine for quite a long time, who is just a massive, massive fan of this pedal, and I gotta say, it was good advice. I have played the original Halo and found myself somewhat turned off by the control scheme and the kind of awkward ways that I found at the time I was getting in and out of the looping mode in that pedal. This, though, is a whip simple, stereo in, stereo out, no looper, no MIDI, no presets, straightforward delay. You have a quarter note, a dotted eighth for tap tempos, and then you have the kind of like, I think it's the Andy Timmons delay mode. I'm assuming it's just like a dotted eighth running into a quarter. I don't know. But it's just like a really beautiful hi-fi tape, somewhere near digital delay sounding delay algorithm in here, all digital of course. And you've got a tone control, a high pass filter, and a saturation for kind of like grittying up the delay repeats in this thing. And the thing about it is, it sounds amazing in stereo, especially in that kind of stacked delay mode. But even in mono, this thing just has kind of a shimmery, reverberant quality to it that makes it a easy yes on almost every pedal board I build. If I want a delay that can either be the rhythmic delay, or I want a delay that does a really good job of kind of folding into the background and just creating a beautiful bed for my playing to play on top of, Halo Core does it really well. So let's give it a listen. And last up is the hologram microcosm. And I know. But here's the thing. We are only going to be looking at the delay engines proper in here, the multi-delay category with the subcategories of pattern delays and warp delays. We're not looking at mosaic, the micro loops, the granulars, the glitches. I think that the delay engines in this thing get slept on unfairly. And that's what I want to kind of like focus on in this video, because I have been using this as a mono delay on pedal boards more recently and more frequently, and living in those kind of pattern and warp delays at slow speeds in reverse with the reverb turned up and the activity turned up, gives you access to some really cool, glitchy effects that feel like microcosm but don't have that weird kind of intentional built-in delay that something like the samplers like the Mosaic do. Another thing that I really love about the microcosm as a delay pedal proper is the ability to tap this encoder knob in to get those delays running in reverse instead. Between MIDI clocking, the time controls, the filter, the shape knob, and that reverse, you actually get access to some really beautiful reverse delays in here that can be pitch shifted or not, that just give you some really interesting skittery, smoother reverse stuff that's a little bit less of that massive sweeping reverse sound that you would get from something like the Chase Bliss Mood Mark II or the reverse delay in like the Timeline, say. I really think the delays in this thing are incredibly slept on and underrated. Not as underrated as Glitch Mode C, the objective best engine in this device. Mosaic D lovers can fight me in the comments. But I do think that there's not enough hay made about the delay engines in this thing. And so we're gonna wrap up this video by just listening to the microcosm just as a kind of semi-proper delay, both in forward and reverse.